We're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning, everyone. This is Changing Times, and I'm Dr. Mary Byrne. It's Wednesday, July 10th of 2024, and we have an exciting show for you today because it's a timely conversation and very much pertinent to some of the services that, as a program, we like to ensure that the public is aware of, and that is services to our veterans. But first, I want to thank our sponsors, Brad Pistow of Trinity Insurance and Financial Services. Brad has been a longtime supporter of this show and of Lynn Morris, who, by the way, is continuing to recover from his surgery, and wishes everyone well, and we wish Lynn would come back as soon as possible. But Brad's number here, if you're interested in a financial planner with, and Scott, you've talked about you're a client of Brad's. Yeah, and you highly recommend him. His number is 417-581-9222. That's Brad Pistow of Trinity Insurance and Financial Services. Our other sponsor is Springfield Nissan and Springfield Kia. And we've talked before about how important it is to have a trustworthy auto provider, whether you're buying a new car or a used car. And Springfield Nissan and Springfield Kia have been consistent supporters of Lynn, and Lynn only has good friends. I can attest to that. So we're going to recommend to you Springfield Nissan and Kia. And their number is 417-882-3838. And just in case I garbled the language, we have the numbers running across the band at the bottom of the screen. So if you don't have your pencils with you now, you have about half an hour to copy those numbers. All right, we have a guest with us today, Chaplain Scott McCrystal from the U.S. Army. He had served as, well, he's been an ordained pastor for 40 years, you say? 40 years. Sure. Gee. That's
time waits for no person.
Isn't that something? 4 decades, how time flies. And what I'm excited about is that we were able to pair him with Steve Webb and Jill Simmons from the Greene County Park Board. Because Scott works and established an organization called Warrior's Journey that is serving vets who are going through crises where they need some relational support from people who have walked that journey before and can now walk it with them. I'm going to let Scott do a lot of talking about that. And Steve and Jill have a grant for launching a program to provide recreation and relationship. I'm going to put it that way. Recreation and relations for wounded veterans. I call them wounded warriors. And actually, they're dealing with the same populations. So the difference is Scott's dealing with them kind of on a crisis level, and Steve and Jill are trying to launch a program that can provide ongoing relationships so that there's a continuance of a feeling of support from the community and from the people who are in those groups, yes. Right? They can minister to each other. So, Scott, let's start with you and continue the conversation we had before the program started. So what launched your Warrior's Journey, and tell us how it's grown and your most impressive story. So that's 3 things all at once.
Sure. Well, at the very outset, Mary, I want to make sure that I have been a helper. I have been associated with the Warrior's Journey since 2015, but without a doubt, the major driving force as far as an individual have been two. Mark Flattery came up with the idea,
Okay.
and then Kevin Weaver was hired by Mark Flattery, and Kevin is probably one of the most talented, energetic, amazing, gifted leaders I have ever seen.
Are they here in Springfield?
They are.
Oh, wonderful.
And basically, the Warrior's Journey, in a nutshell, was put together in an effort to deal with the invisible wounds that people have. All of us have them. The vets who have physical wounds also have invisible wounds. And I want to make sure the audience knows that whether it's a child, whether it's anybody, you can get invisible wounds from almost any traumatic situation.
And that's life, isn't it?
That is life.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, we tried to take not only the active duty population, but just the overall vet population to include families and say, what are their challenges? And we ran a survey, we vetted it through Harvard, and found essentially for this population, there were 12 challenges. And I'll just read them because I think this is important. 1, isolation, insignificance, deep loss, fear, family brokenness, moral injury, hardship of separation, financial difficulty, lack of identity, post-traumatic stress, deployment, and just a sense of helplessness. There could be more, but what's interesting is, as we talked about prior to the show beginning, that the one that's surfaced to the very top, without question, Dennis, has been isolation. When
Right.
people feel isolated, bad things happen, and they can move into dark times almost overnight. So I don't want to dwell too much on just about us, but we have tried to become an organization here in Springfield because we have to raise money. And fortunately, Springfield has a lot of people that genuinely care about veterans. So we've established what I would say is a world-class building over off of Glenstone near Praise Assembly. We have a retreat center in Germany, and we're developing other retreat centers in an effort to make this a global effort because, as you know, our veterans are scattered all over the world.
Right.
And getting people interested as well as giving to invisible wounds versus physical has been a little more difficult. But I think that as time has gone on, we've tried to be persistent, and we've done all sorts of various kinds of ministry across the United States and frankly around the world, that people are realizing that the mental, the spiritual, the invisible wounds they're there. And we have two purposes that we try to accomplish. One, if we can prevent invisible wounds and help people be resilient, that's the best outcome we can have. But as you well know, every day, and I'm going to go to the dark side, people decide to take their lives. And you've heard various statistics, 22 a day. I really don't know what the average is, but among veterans, I think, and this has been vetted with the Veterans Administration, I think it's safe to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 to 18 has been pretty much the average over the last decade.
And how did you get involved with this organization?
I got involved because Kevin has a military background, but his background with pastoral work, he's pastored for 30 years, he's run radio programs, he's done all sorts of stuff, and he is just, he's a magnificent leader. I think I brought the connectivity to the military because basically since 1970, I've worked in directly Department of Defense, the Army, but I've also worked since that time for all sorts of organizations working, you know, collaboratively. And so I try to stay very connected. And I have 2 boys that are still active duty. Kevin has 2 sons that are very much tied into the Army. And I think one of the most important things is you have to stay as current as you can regarding the population that you're dealing with.
Absolutely. So I see deployment here is on the list. So we're not just we're talking about active military and their
Absolutely.
families, because they're
Absolutely.
traumatized by deployment too. What is your most the story that is most impressive to you since you've been involved with the organization?
Well, actually, I think it's a story that happened with Kevin Weaver. Kevin was, this was, I believe, a Sunday night. He had a senior non-commissioned officer in the Army call, and I think his wife called, got him on the phone, and Kevin said, "Hi, I'm Kevin. How can I help you?" And this NCO said, "I have a gun to my head, and I'm about to pull the trigger. Tell me right now why I should not." To make a long story short, Kevin, I mean, what would you say? Kevin was just absolutely flabbergasted, but I believe, honestly, God just gave him the right words. He turned it around and he said, "Brother, why would you do that to me?" And the NCO said, "What do you mean, do it to you? I'm talking about killing myself." He goes, "Why would you kill yourself and leave me with the guilt that because I couldn't help you, I would feel responsible, I would feel guilty, I would have survivor's guilt the rest of my life. Why would you do that?" And something good, in a way, just clicked in this NCO's head. And to make a long story short, he is now helping the warrior's journey as a result of his experience and, frankly, Kevin's leadership.
Amazing.
In that situation.
That's wonderful. So is it a family fair for you too? Does your wife help you
Absolutely.
in your
Absolutely.
ministry there?
We have all sorts of situations, like we're going to what used to be Fort Bragg, Fort Moore, coming up, where they've asked me to talk about how to plan for the future. And these are Special Forces people, because there are all sorts of hot spots around the world. I think everybody knows that anything could break out at any time. And so these hardcore chaplains who have been in deployment, been in combat, all of that, they're trying to get more prepared, because we've got China, we've got Russia, we've got Iran, we've got all sorts of hot spots in the Middle East. And it's more, in my opinion, preparing the individual. We don't know what the road's going to look like.
Yes.
But there's a saying with children that you don't prepare the road for the child, you prepare the child for the road, because we don't know what's going to happen.
That's right. Right.
And so we're going to try to talk with them and just encourage them. And probably it'll be a discussion like we're having today, because I find lecture doesn't really work. I
Right.
find getting people dialoguing, throwing in ideas, and it's fun, and I think it's constructive.
Right. But what we talked about was the need not to just handle crisis situations, but to create community and support, which causes me to be excited about what you're doing. Steve, can you tell us about how you launched this idea of having, now let me think what it's called, Operation Recreation and Re-engage, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
There's
so
a flyer
you can hold
for you.
that flyer up to the screen. Yeah, and people can zoom in on that, and we'll try to get a PDF and post that
Absolutely.
later. So tell us how this got started.
So kind of like we talked about before the program started, the Community Foundation of the Ozarks offers several community grants for different purposes every year. And we had seen on their website that they were offering a grant for wounded war vets in southwest Missouri. And so Jill and I both kind of eyeballed that and seemed like we were both interested in doing something for that population, because historically we had not tapped into them. And we have several Parks colleagues that are either veterans themselves, they've had family members that are veterans, they've lost loved ones,
And what did they tell you about the need? When you talked, even, within your own house there, what did those veterans tell you about the need in the Springfield community?
Well, we know, kind of like Scott was talking about, that some wounds are physical, some are mental, some are social. Some vets withdraw from the community and kind of put up walls around themselves because they don't want to get hurt again, or they're afraid to go back out into the public eye, or they just have trouble acclimating to civilian life. And so we knew that those were all possibilities, and we knew that all of those could be encompassed under that umbrella of wounded war vets. And so we started brainstorming internally first with some of our colleagues, and looked for volunteers that wanted to be part of a planning committee to put together some sort of event or program for vets. And several staff members that stepped up and said, I want to be a part of this and dedicate my time and resources to it. And so it kind of snowballed from there. And we first started talking about what are some activities that we could offer that we think vets might be interested in. And we have a lot of different offerings in parks, everything from sports to camping outings, outdoor stuff, indoor stuff. And so I think we had brainstormed initially probably 50 different activities and had to pare that down to what we could pull off within a 2-hour time frame. So we settled on about 3 of those. One of them kind of, I think, caters to that physical component, getting them active again and participating in something that's going to help them with their health and physical wellness. One of them is more of a relation building thing, having some fellowship with other vets that will be there in attendance. And then another one is focused more on relaxation and meditation and just clearing your mind and being able to, not focus on your problems for a little while, instead focus on, what's current and present.
So currently, you're just planning the initial launch meeting and giving a sample of what might be available for them to try and give you feedback about it. Would
That's
that
correct.
be-
This is sort of an introductory event for us. While the vets are with us, we're going to ask them to fill out a survey and tell us what they would like to see parks offer moving forward.
I've seen that survey online.
Yes.
So will they be doing it on laptops
We
or
have it
hard
available
copy?
through several different channels. They
Okay.
can fill it out either online through a QR code. We'll have paper copies available at the event that they can fill out while they're sitting down eating lunch. They can go onto our website. They can fill it out through social media. Once we get that feedback collected, we'll kind of analyze it and see what's something that a lot of them would like to see us offer moving forward. Who would they like to participate with? Just other vets, maybe their families as well, or maybe just them and their caregiver.
That's an interesting thought. Maybe they come together, but then they separate off so that the women might just want to be talking to other military wives. I do have relatives in Colorado Springs who were part of the Air Force Academy.
Awesome.
And yeah, when the husbands were deployed, the women were the support group for each other. So this event that you're planning is for the families as well as the individual soldiers. Is that correct?
Yes, we are allowing them to bring a caregiver if they have some sort of physical need or they need help navigating through the different activities. Things will move pretty quickly. They'll spend about 20 to 25 minutes on each activity, and then they'll rotate to the next station. And we know that some folks will have some mobility issues maybe, and we'll need some help doing that. And so
And that'll help inform you about
Exactly.
how to format this
Correct.
this event. And then you're providing meals, right?
we're going to serve lunch at the conclusion of the event, and that's when we'll ask them to fill out the survey. We're going to do some drawings for door prizes and different parks passes, and we just really want to love on them and kind of make it all about them and honor their service and their sacrifice.
So this is indoors, so they don't have to worry about
Correct.
heat and weather,
Nice
that
air-conditioned
kind of thing.
environment.
So Jill, tell us about your interest in teaming up with Steve, and what you do at the park board.
Well, I work with the athletics section of the park board. I oversee all the sports throughout town, so we stay incredibly busy. But part of my draw to this event, part of my draw to parks in general, is really just connecting people that have common bonds. And I think that's what we do really well in parks. We have something for everybody, and we try to find a place where you belong, a place where you can recreate. We all need respite from life. And so whether that's kayaking and canoeing, or if it's working out in a fitness center, or if it's coming to play a sport activity, you can find people that are like-minded, and maybe people that you didn't know, so you can expand your support network. And I think with some of the veterans that I know, isolation is something that they have struggled with, and so I think this fits really nicely with just trying to help people connect.
Yeah, that's right. You don't always need therapy. You just need friends.
Right.
and I saw that with my aging mother, is that it's not like she needed to be considered a patient. She was a person
Right.
who had normal needs for being connected to other people. But because you might have a special need, people don't know how to handle that, and they will withdraw from you because they don't want to break anything.
Right.
But, the thing is, those people just, the ones who want to help but don't know how, they need that information too.
Right.
So I'm so excited for this, and who knows? My background was children with special needs. I won't say that there's enough. You can always use more programs that put people together and celebrate accomplishments, however small those accomplishments
Right.
are. Right.
Definitely.
And for these wounded veterans, there's still some accomplishments left in them. And if they
Yes.
don't have the sense of purpose, like what's on this list here, it could be that in conversation with other vets, like what the conversations we were having before, they learn an opportunity to become helpful and become somebody else's support and learn that sense of purpose. So this is a wonderful thing. Go ahead, Scott.
If I could interject, what I'm very excited about, and you nailed it earlier, Dennis, is if we were to sum up what we've seen, whether it's military or not, every person needs 4 things. They need to be loved. They need to feel part of a community. They need to feel valued. And as you said earlier, Dennis, they need a purpose. And what excites me about what you're doing is I think a lot of the people, if you can attract them out of their isolation, and I don't believe this is just new people in town. I think there are a lot of people, families, veterans, that have just been hesitant. They feel isolated, and they're just a little afraid to step out. You'll not only gradually get some of these to come out of the woodwork, so to speak, but when they sense what you offer, I think they may even turn into some of your best volunteers and
Right.
can tell others.
That's right. And one of the identities, people with special needs, and I'm going to put wounded veterans in that category. One of the problems is identification as somebody broken rather than somebody.
Right.
And that's why we call children who the government categorizes as having disabilities as having special abilities. So, yeah, there's things they can't do, but that's not going to be where we focus. We're going to focus on the things they can. We'll find those.
That's a great point.
And then match you with opportunities to flourish with what you're good at. I'm excited about music. Okay, so you might add that into your agenda. There's lots of people who have an ability with music but don't know their opportunities to express that. So there's that, and there's art. I do like exercise opportunities because that cleanses the body and helps straighten the brain out for these depression ideas. Exercise is
Absolutely.
very good for that. But there's also creativity. And so I'm got this vision of this expanding into all kinds of partnerships for you.
That's
to-
what we hope will happen.
Yeah,
That would be
very
awesome.
much so.
And I would hope Steve and Jill, that we can maybe have you come over to the Warrior's Journey, or we'll come over and see you and see what we can do to promote, because we're trying to accomplish the same thing. We're trying to connect lives.
Yeah,
That's
that'd be
right.
great.
Yeah. So the people you've connected with so far, they've been the VFW posts.
We have gone door to door pretty much with any organization that we feel like might be able to help us spread the word about this event. VFW Post, the DAV clinic on the south end of town, thrift stores, library centers, our own accessible recreation division, just anybody that we can think of might have some sort of connection
We have
with
some
vets.
Legion posts and some vets, so we've tried to
Yeah.
reach out all
Right.
the ways we can think.
I was
with the
telling
connections we
Steve,
have.
I know somebody who's a lobbyist for veterans up in Jeff City, and I'm sure he's got personal connections with people that we can amplify your message and tap into additional resources for that. So, Scott, tell us what the services are directly. You know, concrete examples, not just the telephone conversations. Although, yeah,
Sure.
what is it you do?
Well, what we do, first of all, our top function is to connect people with people of similar experiences. We have found, even though you can give lectures, you can have programs, you can have all sorts of offerings, but what touches people most is the one-on-one. And we tell people when we go into churches, if you're not willing to get the soil of humanity all over yourself, don't bother. Don't insult veterans. Don't insult their families. So that is the main thing that we do. But we literally travel worldwide. We hold resilient workshops, marriage workshops, you name it. Whatever the organization wants, we'll try to do. But in these, our experience has not been, I stand up as Dr. McCrystal or Dr. Mary and say, listen to me, I'm an expert. Honestly, I think an expert, my definition, is a fool far away from home. I'm jacked up, and I don't mind admitting I've got my problems, but we engage people, and we try to pull out of people their thoughts, their talents, and their needs, and we work together, and it has been remarkably rewarding, I think, all the way around.
Yeah, when my cousin's daughter was in Afghanistan, we would get people to send boxes of items from the United States that they couldn't get in the PX markets and stores over there. And it was things like certain brands of shampoo that they preferred, or certain cereals. And I would send the small 2-pound bags of coffee. And I call her my niece. She's actually my second cousin, but I call her my niece. She would bargain to get her agenda higher up on the list with these packs of coffee, you know. And it occurred to me that I was helping her build relationship within her office, but I never met those people. And what I'm getting at is that sometimes you are the support system for the supporters. And I enjoyed doing that. But where I'm going with this is that the Christmas baskets aren't enough.
Right.
Okay? The Christmas baskets aren't enough. When you talk about getting dirty with humanity, it's actually making a commitment to a long-term
Yes.
relationship. And if you're not ready for that, don't bother. Have any of you seen Sound of Hope? It's just come out. Have you? Okay, Sound of Hope.
I've seen the trailer. It looks tremendous.
It is tremendous. It is a real-life story about Possum Trot, Texas. It is a community who adopted children from the foster system. And the whole point was how hard it was to take on this commitment and fulfill it, but they did it. And they did it because as a community, they supported each other, the adoptive families, and they also took the support from the social services, which would be like what you're doing. But you can't do the one-on-one relationship with these people. You can provide the context for them to
right.
to support each other, and so that it's important to sign up for these programs so that you can plug in, be there for each other, and take these opportunities that are offered, and not just sit at home and say nobody cares. That's the point. So, what is your timeline here for the launch of the program? And we're going to plug you in with Scott here and see how many people we can get for Saturday. But where do you see this going? Is the grant just for this event? Is it for a series of events, or is it renewable? How does this work?
So I think with the grant, initially when we applied, it was for this event, and we didn't know what kind of response. So we try to allow for the largest response that we could really handle. They're pretty flexible. There's some mid-year reporting that we can do to try to reallocate those funds as long as they're still serving veterans. So in our minds, this is our kickoff event. This is where we hope to gain some momentum. And as we learn from those surveys and the feedback that we hear from the community about additional services and programs and activities, then we can use some of those funds to help make sure that we get those things going. And once we get good support, we're pretty good at keeping things rolling. It's just a matter of finding out how we can best help.
Right. Awesome. What else would you like to say about your ministry?
What I want to say about our ministry is to encourage you. I believe in being real. What you're trying to do is noble. What you're trying to do will work. But our experience, it takes time.
Right.
And so
It's not a short-term thing.
I hope you get a huge crowd in your first outing. But if you don't be discouraged. Veterans in particular, I've found, and their families are just kind of hesitant, but through word of mouth and through just constant effort, and when you look at the ministry of Jesus, yes, he spoke to crowds, but his ministry that's so much written about, especially in the Gospels, was one life at a time.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
We have Dennis over there. He works with veterans too. And something that this Acts Ministries offers is a pastor for veterans. So they've had programs of online church, which I think is getting a re-kick start. Is that right? So that veterans can attend their churches with families in the morning, but then the online church is offered in the afternoon, and it's just for vets. Because that's a special ministry. And it requires a pastor who can talk to veterans about veterans issues. So that's what we do here. You know, at Changing Times, we try to amplify for the public what's available to them from the community, and we want you to feel very comfortable contacting us and saying, hey, you know, we need to publicize this. But what I'm looking forward to is that the grant is not short term.
No.
That there will be effort to seek future funding so that because the needs of vets is an ongoing.
It's important.
Yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to tag on to something you just said, Dr. Byrne. A lot of people in Springfield don't know that we have a very broad system. We have over 100 parks in our system. And some of those are just little neighborhood playgrounds, but we have some very unique offerings. We have ice parks and equestrian centers and farm parks and botanical centers. And I really like what Scott said earlier about getting these veterans plugged in and maybe as potential volunteers in the future, because a lot of what we do, we couldn't do without volunteers. We have a lot of partner organizations like Friends of the Zoo, Friends of the Garden, and they really step up and help us in a lot of ways. So
Awesome.
this could be a give and take relationship that's
Absolutely.
very long term, very mutually beneficial.
Right.
And so we're very
How
excited
is it
about
that Greene County was so blessed with people who had the vision for this variety of opportunities.
I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Right.
We've had some leaders in the past that have been very visionary, wanted to be at the forefront of our industry, and wanted to offer things that, by our mission statement are going to improve the quality of life for Springfield citizens and the broader county. And we do that through our parks, our trails, our green spaces, our facilities, and our programs and activities. So
I live by Nathaniel Green Park, and where you have the Japanese festival
Right.
every
What a
year.
beautiful,
Right.
It's
beautiful
amazing.
place.
place.
It's amazing. Yeah. And so I think that's part of the reason I'm so excited is that I know the quality of work that the park board does, and this will be nothing short of that.
We're excited to do it. I think one of the things they're not just visionaries about the facilities that they've brought to the community,
The
but
butterfly
also,
house is out
there's
there.
all
I
sorts
mean,
of amazing things. They've also been really good at bringing in a variety of people to administer those services. So, when you look at park staff people, they're not, there's some common goals out there, but they have different interests in different areas of expertise. And I think all that has just kind of become kind of the richness of our culture, and we just want to keep growing it.
do you have an adaptive gym?
We don't have a gym that's adaptive per se. We do have adaptive playgrounds, and we do have an accessible division, section within the recreation division. And they have their own programs and activities, but I know like with sports, we collaborate with them on particular special events and activities and programs where we'll adapt pretty much any program for whoever comes along. But sometimes if you do have special needs or different abilities, you do want to be in your own group. And so that we're able to adapt at a higher level when those
Yeah,
come along.
because I see
Yep.
that in your future dealing with wounded veterans.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
we do have an adaptive ball field called Miracle League.
Yes.
Where is that?
It's over on Blackman Road, just south or north, of the Dan Kinney Family Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I know where that is.
Yeah.
And they,
By the way, I've got to ask a burning question. Do you all, is golf something that is part of your,
yes, we have 4
3.
municipal
Oh,
golf
that's right.
courses in
We have 4
town.
with the kids one. Yeah.
well, let me tell you this. The Warriors Journey has gotten, particularly it's Kevin's initiative, very involved so far in the eastern half of the United States. Veterans love to get involved in golf, and I'm not talking about veterans that are physically whole. I'm talking about those that are physically challenged, and they love it. And boy, does that bring an audience.
Great.
Yeah, that feedback
they
is
come
very
to
helpful.
that.
Yeah.
So that's why we brought you two together.
That's good.
These two agencies, and
We have a lot of staff members that love golf too,
Yeah.
including myself. I just struggle to find the time to be able to play it sometimes.
Isn't that
Well,
something?
I'll say this humorously, and I hope people will understand. God is ever present. Some days I wonder if he's with me on the golf course, particularly when I go to putt.
That's relatable.
That's good.
Wonderful. What else do you want people to know? Not just about this event, but about the Greene County Park Board.
We've been around a long time, and we've got lots of opportunities for people to participate in whatever their interests are. Even if the 3 activities that we're offering in this inaugural event don't appeal to them, please come anyway, because we do have other things that we're going to talk to you about.
And it's an opportunity to tell you what you want.
Exactly.
That's right. We try to have something for everyone, and how we determine what facilities or service or staffing we might need is based on feedback from our community. So,
Correct.
And we guarantee that you'll have a good time, and
yeah.
we're going to feed you lunch, so free lunch.
And meet lovely people.
That's right.
Right. Food,
Yeah.
fellowship, and fun. It's always a good combination.
Do you
That's
know
right.
the menu for that lunch, by the way?
You know, our colleague, who oversees
I'm asking
our,
the tough
Park Board
questions.
concessions division, he also has a catering business
He does.
that he does for parks, and he does some really good meals. He can do
Awesome.
brisket, pretty much any kind of chicken, salads, potatoes. I mean, it's pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You say, oh, you're right. All right. You know, I was just wondering if you interface with businesses that veterans do to contract for these services. I mean, this can be a real veterans community in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. We do have a marketing coordinator, and he has reached out to several of those that are either veteran-friendly businesses or veteran-owned businesses, hoping to get that to produce some attendance as
Because
well.
that's what builds trust, for people who are reluctant to come out, is if they know that you already have a history there and they can navigate within a community that they're familiar with, then it's comforting, I think is the word. Yeah.
So let me ask this question, because I don't know. The Warrior's Journey, we have to raise funds. And that's challenging but doable if you believe in your cause and you show people you're passionate, etc., and there's a real need. How about the park board? Are you allowed to raise funds to supplement the grant?
We always take donations.
Okay.
Any time of year, you can do that through our website. You can contact our marketing group. And those come in a variety of ways. A lot of the parks and facilities that we have, that's how we got some of them, was through donations of space or
Land.
or finances to help build things. We also generate user fees and some things like that. But to have as diverse and large as a park system that we have, taxpayer dollars go a really long way, but only so much. We're extremely large and diverse for the size community we are. What you see here is on par with very large communities around the country. So yeah, we always accept donations. And if you have a special interest, that would be something to speak with administration about how your funds are utilized when you donate. Yeah.
Right. I live out, like I said, near the Nathaniel Green Park, but right across the street from that is the Horton Smith Golf
Yes,
Course.
It's ours.
Yes,
So
it
that's a
is.
lot of land you've got there.
As a matter of fact, I'll just, while we're on the air, just say Horton Smith needs some asphalt pathways for carts in the worst way. They do.
For
They're-
accessibility.
Yes, they're behind, what is it, River Cut and Payne Stewart on that. And I know there's planning in the works,
Yeah.
but that
That
would
is one of
really
our older
help.
course.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
It's been around a long time.
It's a good course.
It's well used,
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Right.
I
Very
pass
good
by it
area.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, excellent. Well, we have just about run out of time here, and I hope listeners in the audience appreciate that these change agents, people who are difference makers, are sincere about offering their time, talent, and abilities at their job to minister to our veterans who have special needs, who are still viable contributors to the community. You're not just people to be served, but to serve. And we'd like to offer you this event on Saturday to come and connect with people and learn where your place might be. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week.